want to talk to you about this divine matrix. Is we establish the fact that this field exists. Okay, there is something out there. It's everywhere. It's not like over there. It's everywhere, and we are part of it. It is a living, pulsing, vibrating, throbbing field of energy. Doesn't that sound really great? It's this living field of energy that is always present, and it is always responding to us. Now, maybe we're aware of its response, and maybe we're not. But the key is that we have the ability to communicate with this field. And you know, when I first began to understand this as a scientist, I explored this as a scientist, and it made perfect sense to me intuitively. Doesn't it make sense? Now that we know that we are not a random fluke of biology, we're not here by accident. And that's what we saw on the pyramid of who are we. The origin of life, it's not completely random. The origin of human life, it's not completely random. And we didn't really explore what the alternative is. It's beyond the scope of what I can do well here, although I will touch on it before we complete this program a little bit. But the fact that we are not a random chance fluke of biology says to me, intuitively, it makes perfect sense that being in this world, we would have some way to communicate with the stuff this world is made of. Doesn't that make sense to you? Why would we appear here isolated, separated, with no ability to communicate with the living essence of this world? That makes no sense to me intuitively, not my scientific mind. It just doesn't feel right. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? So, this is about the science now. We're moving into the science that shows us we are, in fact, capable of communicating with this living field, with the divine matrix, in a way that the field recognizes. Just the way we said, if you want to communicate with the subconscious, you've got to use a language that the subconscious will recognize. The same thing is happening with the divine matrix. This is about reading the code of what this is all about. I'm going to begin with a statement. We live in a reflected reality. That's a huge statement. We live in a reflected reality. And let me just share a little story with you about how real this is. A reflected reality is where the world around us is so intimately connected to us that there is an interaction whether we recognize it or not. It happens on many different levels. One of the first places that I saw this, when I mentioned to you, I was in Egypt in 1986, saw the temple walls, and they all pointed to the mountains of the Andes in southern Peru and Bolivia to find out the mysteries of our past. So 1989, I went to Peru for the first time. One of the things that I discovered there from a guide that I was working with is that the native peoples, they didn't have electricity. I mean, I knew that, but they didn't have electricity in these high altitude communities. They didn't have the medical care that we would see in our cities today, yet they had found ways to perform many of the similar functions. So when someone became ill, they would do something called a jungle x-ray. And this is, if you're an animal lover, this is a little tough, and it is done with tremendous reverence. I want to tell you that. And it is not done casually or haphazardly. But they know, the native peoples know, they are so intimately connected with their world through this field in all life that what is happening in one being that's a mystery will be reflected in another being on another level that may be known. So one of the things they will do when someone becomes really ill and it's not obvious, they cannot figure out what's going on, they say, we need some kind of a diagnosis. There is an abundance of guinea pigs in the southern Andes. And they use them for all kinds of things. They use them for meals because there's no refrigeration, so they have fresh meat from guinea pigs, and they use them for medical purposes and diagnostics. And what happened when I was there, this is my guide was telling me about this. Someone in his family became ill. They didn't know what was wrong. It was a sister-in-law. I said, what did you do? And this is what he described. He said, they did a jungle x-ray. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, we took a guinea pig, and we run it through, just over her body, a living guinea pig, through the energy field of her body a few times, and then we kill the guinea pig, and we dissect it to see what is happening inside of the guinea pig, because that reflects what is happening in the human body. The guinea pig's energy is not filtered. There is no judgment, no fear, no bias, no self-esteem. So it's immediate. When that guinea pig is in the presence of an illness, it will reflect that illness immediately. Immediately. And they know that. So the guinea pig, well, in this case, there was a liver problem. And they found the liver problem in the guinea pig, and they said, okay, this is what's wrong with the sister-in-law. And they began giving her herbs for the liver, thistles and things like that. And she was healed. That is how real this reflected reality really is. I was in Tibet a few years later with a small group. And I saw something there that really brought this reality home to me. And I want to share it with you. Maybe it was because, I was at 12,000 feet above sea level and I'd been there 16 days, or maybe it was the rare atmosphere of the blue skies, or because I was ecstatic for being, the higher the elevation, the happier I am. I want to tell you, I'm good here. I'm good. We're at sea level. I'm okay. I'm good here. I am really, really good. What I found, we live at 8,000 feet above sea level, and I'm even better. When I have the opportunity, if you ever travel with me, when I have the opportunity to travel with you, I promise you, wherever we are, I will take you to the highest places I can find, because I specialize in high altitude journeys into Tibet, into the Andes of Bolivia and Peru, in the mountains of Egypt. And the protocols to get us into these places so that we can experience them responsibly and in a healthy way and have these beautiful experiences. So I'm ecstatic, 12, 13, 14, 15,000 feet above sea level. I'm just like, so maybe that was part of it. But here's what was happening. We were in this bus, and this is part of our group. We were coming down this old road, and because we were coming from a higher elevation, we were coming downhill around a curve. I looked into a lake below us, and I saw something in that lake. It was so beautiful, and it didn't make sense at first. I said, what am I seeing? So here's a picture of what I saw looking into the lake. I was looking down in the lake, and I saw this, and it was a reflection of a Buddha. But I couldn't see the Buddha. I couldn't see where it was coming from. All I could see was this reflection. And I thought, where in the world is that coming from? And as we turned the corner, then I had another perspective, another vantage point, full view, and I was able to see this, carved into the side of a hill. And in that moment, I thought, this is a perfect example of just the way our reality works. We see a reflected reality all around us. We cannot always see what it is that it's reflecting. We can't see the reality. This is what the movie The Matrix is all about. The Matrix is about a world that's apparent to us that is a reflection of another world that we can't see from this vantage point. It exists, we just can't see it from here because like we're up over the hill.